You've been walking around thinking your hair looks fine, and nobody has told you it doesn't. That's not a small thing. Your hair is the very first detail people register when they look at you, before your clothes, before your smile, before anything else. And certain hairstyles, ones most of us were told were classic or safe, are quietly adding 10 years to your face every single day. I researched the worst style and beauty mistakes and the best fixes for women over 50 so you get real results, fast. Today we're going through 5 outdated hairstyles that are aging you, and exactly what to replace each one with. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every week. Part 1. The blunt bowl cut with no layering. Here's something most women don't know. A perfectly blunt, zero-layered cut doesn't just sit flat. It actually makes the face look wider. That's a geometry problem. When there's no movement, no graduation, no variation in weight at all, your hair presses outward against your cheekbones and jaw instead of flowing past them. And after 50, when our faces naturally lose volume in the upper third and gain it in the lower, that outward push makes everything look heavier and older than it actually is. You've probably lived with this cut for years because somebody told you layers were too trendy or hard to maintain. That's outdated advice. The women who look effortlessly polished and somehow ageless, they almost all have some form of layering working quietly in their hair. The fix is face framing layers. And this is specific. You're not asking your stylist for general layers. You're asking for long, soft layers that start at the cheekbone and angle downward toward the collarbone. That specific placement does 2 things at once. It draws the eye vertically, lengthening the face, and it creates a natural frame that pulls attention straight to your eyes. That's where you want people looking. Tell your stylist you want the heaviest weight kept at the crown and the nape, with the layers falling in at the sides. You want movement when you turn your head, not structure when you stand still. That distinction matters. A cut that moves is a cut that looks alive. And alive is what reads as young. I had a friend, late 60s, beautiful bone structure, absolute zero patience for fussy hair, who had been wearing a blunt bob since 1994. Same cut, same stylist, same result every time. She added face framing layers at my suggestion, genuinely just to stop hearing about it. 3 days later she called me. She said strangers had started making eye contact with her again. That's not a small thing to notice about yourself. The snapback here is real. Face framing layers redirect the eye upward. People stop reading the lower face and start reading the eyes. That shift alone changes the entire conversation about how old you look. The swap is this. Out goes the blunt, no movement bowl. In comes a layered cut with specific cheekbone to collarbone framing. Same basic length, entirely different effect. And speaking of length, the mistake in the next part is directly about that. Most women think going shorter is always the safer, younger choice. The truth is more complicated, and we're going into it right now. Part 2. The cropped pixie cut worn too short. The pixie cut has a myth attached to it that nobody has bothered to correct. That cutting your hair shorter makes you look younger. It doesn't. What it actually does, when taken too short, is remove every soft element from around your face at the exact age when softness becomes your most powerful asset. Here's the real problem with the very close cropped pixie after 50. Bone structure becomes harder to read at short distances, and the jaw and neck, the 2 areas where aging shows most visibly, have nowhere to hide. There's nothing flowing past the jawline, nothing grazing the neck, nothing to soften the transition from face to shoulder. The result is that the angles read harder, not younger. The fix is not growing your hair out to your shoulders. It's the longer pixie, sometimes called the pixie lob or the soft pixie, where the length at the sides and the nape is kept to at least 1.5 inches, ideally 2. That sounds like a small difference. It isn't. That extra length creates 2 things that the close crop eliminates entirely: movement and softness. With a longer pixie, your stylist can add texture at the ends. A technique called point cutting or chip cutting, which gives the hair a feathered, airy finish instead of a blunt-edged architectural one. And that airiness around the jaw is doing real work. It blurs the hard line where your face ends and your neck begins. It creates a visual softness that the eye reads, honestly, as youth. Ask your stylist specifically for length at the nape, not a shaved or tapered nape, but a soft nape, and for the sides to be graduated rather than clipped. Graduated means the hair gets gradually longer as it approaches the face. That graduation is the whole magic. It frames the jaw the way layers frame the cheekbones in longer styles. The snapback, when there's softness at the sides and nape, the jaw stops reading as the most prominent feature in the frame. Your eyes and cheekbones take over. That single shift in visual hierarchy makes a dramatic difference in how your age registers to a stranger. The before and after is clear. Out goes the close-cropped, hard-edged pixie. In comes the longer, graduated, textured version that keeps the ease of short hair while bringing back everything that short hair takes away. Here's what's coming next. And this one surprises people, because it's a style that's practically a rite of passage for women over 50, and almost nobody has questioned it. Part 3. The tight perm or overly curled set. There's a reason the tight perm look became shorthand for grandmother in every film and TV show ever made. It's not malicious. It's just that a very specific curl pattern became culturally associated with women of a certain generation. And that association stuck so hard that women who wear it now trigger that recognition instantly in the viewer's brain, regardless of how young they actually feel or look. But here's the underlying problem that the cultural association is built on. Tight, uniform curls compress the hair close to the head. When everything is the same size, the same shape, and packed in at the same distance from the scalp, the hair loses all dimension. And dimension is what communicates health, fullness, and vitality. A compressed, uniform curl sits flat and dense, and flat and dense reads as heavy and dated. The fix is loose, irregular waves, and the word irregular is the key. You're not going from a tight perm to a looser perm. You're going from uniformity to variation. When curls vary in size, some wider, some tighter, some falling differently than others, the hair looks like it's doing something natural. And natural is what the eye reads as beautiful and alive. The best approach, if you're currently in a tight perm, is to talk to your stylist about transitioning to a body wave. A body wave uses much larger rods and a softer solution. And the result is a wave pattern that moves and breathes rather than a curl pattern that sits. The difference at chin length or longer is stunning. You go from looking like your hair is structured to looking like your hair is free. If you're not interested in a chemical process at all, your stylist can achieve the same open wave effect with a large barrel wand or a diffuser on wet hair with a curl defining cream. Ask for a technique called scrunching without crunch. It means you get the wave shape without the product hardness that makes hair look stiff and shellacked. Stiff and shellacked is the other half of the aging problem with the traditional set. It's not just the curl size, it's the whole product that freezes everything in place. The snapback here is about texture as vitality. When your hair has visible movement and variation, it signals health. The brain processes healthy hair as young hair almost automatically. You can be completely silver, beautifully silver, and still read as 10 years younger than you are purely because your hair looks like it's alive. The swap. Out goes the tight, uniform, product frozen perm. In come loose, irregular, breathing waves that move when you do. The next hairstyle mistake is one that a lot of women don't recognize as a mistake at all, because they were told it was elegant. And it is technically. It's just doing something to your face they almost certainly didn't mention. Part 4. The center parted style that drags the face down. A center part is mathematically symmetrical. And that sounds like it should be a good thing. Symmetry is associated with beauty. The catch is that after 50, symmetry without structure works against you. Here's why. A center part divides the face into two equal halves and draws the eye straight down the middle. The direction the eye travels is downward. And when the eye travels downward on an aging face, it arrives at the jaw and neck, which is exactly where you don't want attention landing. There's a lesser-known principle that hairstylists use called directional weight. It describes which part of the face your hairstyle draws the eye toward first. A center part, especially when paired with hair that falls flat on both sides, creates downward directional weight. A side part, or a soft off-center part, creates diagonal directional weight, which pulls the eye upward and across. That upward pull is the difference between a hairstyle that reads as tired and one that reads as lifted. The fix is a soft side part, and I want to be specific about soft, because a hard side part has its own problems. A hard part, scored with a comb in a perfectly straight geometric line, looks dated in a different direction. What you're after is a natural, slightly imprecise part that sits roughly a third of the way across your head from your hairline. Not centered, not aggressively to one side. A third of the way. From that part, your hair falls in one heavier sweep across the forehead, and the thinner side tucks back or rests lightly against the cheek. That asymmetry is doing crucial work. It creates movement across the face rather than down it. Your eye follows the sweep of the hair diagonally. It lands at your cheekbone and eye socket, right where you want attention. Your stylist can also build a little root lift into the parting side. A brief pass with a round brush during blowout, to add volume at the crown. Volume at the crown counteracts what gravity has been doing to the top of your face for 2 decades. You might be surprised how much younger the upper third of your face looks with just that one adjustment. The snapback. When your part creates diagonal weight instead of downward weight, people's eyes go to your eyes first. That's a fundamental rewiring of how your face is read. The jaw and neck literally become secondary information. The eyes take over as the first thing someone sees, and eyes are where youth lives. The swap. Out goes the perfectly divided center part with its flat downward pull. In comes the soft side part with diagonal sweep, and a little life at the crown. We've got one more, and this last one is possibly the most common, the most stubborn, and the one most women feel the most defensive about. Fair warning. Part 5, the stiff, heavily lacquered set that doesn't move. Hair that doesn't move is hair that looks controlled. And controlled hair looks old. This is the one I expect some pushback on, because the stiff lacquered set, the hair sprayed into perfect motionless submission, is often associated with effort and care. Women who wear it are not being careless. They spent time on it. They wanted it to look done. The problem is that done stopped reading as polished around 1998, and now it reads as brittle and dated in a way that ages the face significantly. Here's the biology behind it that nobody explains. Healthy young hair has a natural micro-movement. When you turn your head, when you laugh, when you walk, a strand shifts, barely, but it shifts. That movement is a signal the brain reads as vitality. Hair that is chemically locked into position sends the opposite signal. It looks inert. And inert is aging in the same way that a stiff posture or a rigid expression ages. The body reads stillness as decline. The fix is a finish, not a complete overhaul of your styling routine. You don't have to abandon hold entirely. You just need to stop using finishing products that create a hard, sealed surface. Swap your current hairspray for a flexible hold spray, and apply it differently. Rather than a close, even misting that coats the hair shaft, hold the can at least 12 inches away and mist from above. That distance lets the product disperse before it lands, and the result is a ghost of hold. Enough to keep the shape, not enough to freeze it. The other swap is switching from a hard hold mousse applied at the root to a lightweight whipped cream, or a sea salt spray used at the mid-length. These products add texture and definition without sealing the cuticle. Your hair ends up looking pieced and natural rather than solid and architectural. The product category to search for is touchable hold or flexible finish. Those are the shelf terms that distinguish these from their aging counterparts. Any top-shelf drugstore brand has them now. You don't need to spend a lot. You just need to stop using what you've been using. One more thing on this. The lacquered set often comes with an additional problem, a high-shine finish that reads as plasticky at close range. Real hair at its healthiest has a soft, diffused shine, not a patent leather gleam. If your hair looks shiny the way a helmet looks shiny, a texture spray with a matte or satin finish will break that up immediately. One pass over styled hair, and it shifts the read from done to natural. That's the whole goal. The snapback here is profound. When your hair moves, you look like you're in motion. Motion is life. Life is youth. Guests at a dinner party, strangers at a shop. They stop registering her hair is done, and start registering she looks incredible. That's the shift you're after. The swap. Out goes the stiff, lacquered, motionless set. In comes a flexible, touchable, naturally moving finish that lets your hair do what healthy hair does. All 5 of them done. And together, they tell you something important. It's almost never a dramatic overhaul that changes how people read your age. It's these quiet, specific adjustments, a different part, a different product, a different curl size, that shift everything. You just covered 5 specific hairstyles that add years to your appearance. and exactly what to replace each one with. You know about face framing layers, the longer soft pixie loose body waves, the side part sweep, and the flexible finish. That's real, actionable information your stylist can work with this week. Here's what I want to know from you. Which of these 5 have you been wearing and had no idea it was aging you? Drop it in the comments. I read all of them. Next week I'm going into the 5 makeup mistakes that are doing the same thing to your face. And the fixes are just as specific. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.